Paul George just signed a new deal to become a Philadelphia 76er, and he has left the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, there are a plethora of reasons why he left, and some of them make sense, and we'll talk about them in this video and another video I am making. But let's go through the timeline of the Kawhi and PG era of the Clippers and how it didn't end up resulting in an NBA championship.
And I gotta worry about trade talk. I'm the MVP. I'm the MVP of this league. The best basketball players in the world. I was honored with the MVP. The MVP, the best basketball player in the world. And when I lose, this is what I gotta go through.
You're up 2-0. What's the story? Are you not happy, or you're only half happy, or?
Still to be happy about.
You're up 2-0.
Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
Okay.
Fellas, we work all year long for it, man. Shaq the man, most dominant player in the world. Championship, it's ours. Love it, it's beautiful. Mwah, 2G, baby, you love it. We out.
It's showtime, folks.
First, let's start with how they got together. Now, in the 2018-2019 season, both of them were in different situations. Kawhi was on the Spurs, but requested a trade because he had problems internally and didn't like how they was treating his injuries. Pop tried to be petty, and instead of sending him to his preferred destination, which was LA, he sent him to Toronto Raptors. This Raptors team had been trying to contend, but their best player, DeMar DeRozan, just wasn't that guy when it came to the playoffs. And even though it was a one-year rental, Masai Ujiri took a risk and went all in for an NBA championship. And it ended up working as Kawhi led this team to win the 2019 NBA championship. Now, in terms of Paul George, well, he was on the Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC was trying to build on Russell Westbrook after his historic MVP 2017 season that he had. They got Paul George and Carmelo Anthony and tried to build a team, but it didn't work. Paul George came off a season where he was top 3 MVP and Defensive Player of the Year voting this year. Kawhi, after he won the championship, was indeed a free agent, and he didn't want to go to LA, but had some options to think about since he just won the NBA championship with the Raptors. Kawhi wanted some support in whatever decision that he made. And when I mean support, I mean the co-star. He met with Paul George, who also wanted to go to a different team at this point in his career. Kawhi, whatever team he wanted to go to, wanted Paul George to go alongside with him. The Clippers agreed, and they signed Kawhi Leonard and then traded for Paul George. Now, you're wondering what the Clippers traded to get him. Well, here is the deal. So, going into next season, the Clippers now have Kawhi and PG leading the helm, and we're trying to contend for an NBA championship. The 2020 bubble is infamous because the season was shut down because of a virus. Regardless, the Clippers were still going into this as the ones that were going to go against the Los Angeles Lakers, which will result in the Battle of LA. But in the first round, they had some trouble. In the first round, it was the Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks were being led by civilian assassin Luka Doncic. They was having some trouble because of the player Paul George. But Kawhi played excellent in this series. Luka forced the game 6, but Kawhi played excellent and was able to lead his team to the next round. Kawhi was dominant this series, and even though Paul George had bad games, like Game 4 we had 9 points, Game 3 we had 11, Game 6 we had 15, and Game 2 only had 14. Jesus Christ, Paul George, you literally only had 2 good games in a 6-game series. Anyways, despite his bad play, they was able to pull it off and move on to the next round. The second round, though, this is where this run ends. They end up blowing a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets. In Game 7, I have no worries on how Paul George Kawhi played that bad. Kawhi and PG underperformed this series, and they ended up not having the Battle of LA. What makes it worse is that this season wasn't even the Jokic we all know and love. Yes, Jamal Murray was playing exceptional in the bubble, but this team wasn't as polished as they'll become. And obviously, by the 2023 championship run, you could tell. But anyways, the Clippers were out of the playoffs, but they still have next year. In the 2021 season, the Clippers this year were making runs. They had a tough series with the Mavericks, but went through them. And were tied in the second round against Utah. Kawhi in Game 4, despite being able to tie this series, he sprained his knee. We will get to that injury later. The Clippers won the next 2 games to make it to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in their time together. They went against the Phoenix Suns, but Kawhi's injury was worse than what people thought that he had. He had a torn ACL and was indeed out for the rest of the playoffs. Paul George had to take responsibility of being the first option, and he played good in some games. He dropped 41 in Game 5 to force Game 6, but in Game 6, Chris Paul dropped 41, and PG only dropped 21, and they lost in the Western Conference Finals and again didn't make a finals push. He was out the next season, as he was required to rehab his ACL injury, and the Clippers didn't want to risk aggravating that injury. But it didn't matter, as Paul George was also injured this season, as he only played 33 games. The Clippers missed the playoffs, but was ready for next season with both of their stars rehabbing and being ready for the next season. The next season, the Clippers decided to get Westbrook to allow for more playmaking to lighten the load from PG and Kawhi. Kawhi was healthy this season for his standards, but PG got injured again towards the end of the season in the first round. And in the first round, guess what? Kawhi got injured in the first round versus the Phoenix Suns. The Clippers obviously ended up losing because their two best players was injured again. But there's always next year. The Clippers this season decided to get another playmaker, James Harden. Again, they went for another finals push. Paul George healthy this season, and he was indeed. Kawhi was as well, and for extra insurance, the Clippers rested Kawhi for the last games of the season, and he didn't play in Game 1 of the first round. But guess what? Kawhi got injured again. He only played Game 2 and Game 3, and you can tell something was bothering him. PG and Harden had a good Game 4, but that's all, and they lost to the Dallas Mavericks. The Kawhi and PG experiment failed miserably. Due to injuries, they only had one full playoff run together, and even that was an outlier. The bubble allowed so much time for NBA players to rest and rehab because of the time in between that no basketball was being played. Kawhi is so injury-riddled that he's not a person you can build your franchise around consistently. Paul George is just not that guy. He can have good performances as a second option, but relying on him to carry your franchise while the best player is out just isn't something he can do. Now, ironically in Philly, Embiid is also injury-riddled, but he has another rising star in Max that can help him as well. The Clippers have some decisions to make, as the trade they made for Paul George was indeed a bad trade now, as he didn't make the NBA Finals in this span.
It's the 126.
Swear I'm tired of all these hoes sneaking, trying to set me up. If you play around with the game, we gon' pull up, shoot it up. No route, I swear I gotta blow up all that route, shit ain't no choice. I here thuggin' with the boys, if 556 and make some noise. Green bitch, she said my ARP, it look just like a toy. Got that blick on side my hip, you run up on me, I'm gon' blow it. Feel like Franklin, got it snowing. When I run down, you will not know it. Got some cars and I won't show 'em, but I promise I'm gon' blow 'em. Standing on so much business, I done up, broke my back. Nigga done stuck deep in the pussy, pull it out the big tracks. Yeah, I took that nigga shit and he won't get it back, and that's a fact.